Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. It would be a bit frightening if you knew that your gold could melt at room temperature. This is an article that was sent to me by AUGCH, and it comes to us from a chemical engineering or study website called chemeurope.com, and its title is a little bit frightening for those of us who collect and accumulate gold pieces with very artistic themes on them, or any kind of gold to kind of have, because we think of gold as stable, at least at room temperature. But nonetheless, this gives a different perspective, and it's quite fascinating indeed. How to melt gold at room temperature. When the tension rises, unexpected things can happen, not least when it comes to gold atoms. Researchers from, among others, Chalmers University of Technology, Sweden, have now managed for the first time to make the surface of gold object melt at room temperature. Ludwig de Knoop from Chalmers Department of Physics placed a small piece of gold in an electron microscope. Observing it at the highest level of magnification and increasing the electric field step by step to extremely high levels, he was interested to see how it influenced the gold atoms. It was when he studied the atoms in the recordings from the microscope that he saw something exciting. The surface layers of gold had actually melted at room temperature. I was really stunned by the discovery. This is an extraordinary phenomenon, and it gives us new foundational knowledge of gold, says Ludwig de Knoop. What happened was the gold atoms became excited. Under the influence of the electrical field, they suddenly lost their ordered structure and released almost all of their connections to each other. Upon further experimentations, the researchers discovered that it was also possible to switch between solid and a molten structure. Wow. The discovery of how gold atoms can lose their structure in this way is not just spectacular, but also groundbreaking scientifically. Together with the theoretical Mikhail Kuizma from the University of Jyväskylä in Finland, Ludwig de Knoop and colleagues have opened up new avenues in materials science. Thanks to theoretical calculations, the researchers are able to suggest why gold can melt at room temperatures. Possibly the surface melting can be seen as a so-called low-dimensional phase transition. In that case, the discovery is connected to the research field of topology, where pioneers David Thouless and Duncan Haldane and Michael Kosterlitz received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2016. With Mikhail Kuizma in the lead, the researchers are now looking into that possibility. In any case, the ability to melt surface layers of gold in this manner enables various novel practical applications of the future. One of which would be, to greatly degrade the surface area of coins. I think that would be an unfortunate thing. So if you send a coin into a coin grading service, and they use an electron microscope to check its quality, if they turn the electrical fields up too high, well, there goes your 70. Heck, there goes your 68. Because the ability to melt surface layers will give some practical applications, because we can control and change properties of the surface atom layers. It opens doors for different kinds of applications. For example, the technology could be used in different types of sensors, catalysts, and transistors. There could also be opportunities for new concepts for contactless components, said Eva Olsen, professor at the Department of Physics at Chalmers or Commerce. But for now, for those who want to melt gold without an electronic microscope, a trip to the goldsmith is still in order. So the lesson here learned is for those of us who accumulate gold as a preservation of wealth, or as collectors of particular types of coins, my guess is we're going to want to steer clear from electron microscopes and alter the electron fields, the electromagnetic fields, to stay clear away. Most of us, I don't think, have electron microscopes, so I think we're probably safe. But nonetheless, it is interesting and fascinating. And thank you again to AUGCH for sending us along, because it just goes to show you that, gold is going to have some interesting and promising applications, I think, in the future in terms of research and its ability to do things, just as silver will continue to increase in that regard. In fact, silver is much more versatile in that aspect, and who knows? I would be very curious to see how that kind of technology could play out on the layers of silver, for the silver surface, to see what happens with it. But very interesting indeed. There's an illustration here that shows concentration of the electric field on the tip of a piece here, that shows that the molecules taking away, because technically melting implies, in my view, heat. But it's really just a breakdown of the surface structure of the atoms, and it just applies to the surface. And my guess is probably, more than likely, given the surface area of this coin, and even though it's pretty detailed there, more than likely the melting would probably be barely noticeable. But, certainly if it was under a strong and powerful electric field, that it could cause some damage that could affect the grade. But we're talking about on an atomic and molecule type scale, really, generally, which would be great for some of the applications that could be occurred in the medical field, or, as was mentioned in the article, about how it could be used in different kinds of sensors and catalysts. But they would have to expand the, I would say, the scale of it to make it work. But I think generally, gold, I think we're safe. But it does seem a little bit scary to think about it, because if you have gold in an area and room temperature, to have it melt would not be good for those of us who enjoy the metal. But nonetheless, it's interesting how science and technology are working to make the most out of these metals that have been used for thousands of years in the area of finance, art, and beauty. Gold, fascinating metal indeed, and what science is doing to bring out its properties and applications to better mankind, I think, is quite fascinating indeed. And we'll see. This article is actually very new, and it's quite an interesting thing to see. There's a lot going on, and I believe that in the near to long-term future, we'll find more applications for gold and silver, and I think that will only help us, those of us who accumulate this metal, as a preservation of wealth and as a commodity to hedge ourselves against economic instability. We'll be our own central banks, for sure, if we hold this metal in any form in nature. Beautiful. So post your thoughts below. What do you think of this technology? I think it's quite fascinating indeed. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to y'all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe. Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Many of you have wondered where the soft-eating cuddly kitties have been. They've not been interested in attending many unboxings, so I thought I'd show you that. Here they are! Both of them, right here, in the flesh. This one is very long and lanky, as you can see. Indeed. And this one is very fat and chubby still, to this very day. Whoa! That one ran away, but this one's still here. Curious as to why the other one ran away. I'm very happy, so I hope you enjoyed I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching. Keep your feet on the kitties and your hands on the silver and gold.